Hello, meteorologist Brad Warner here with Region Weather Live, talking about the potential of a winter storm moving through our region Tuesday on into Wednesday. Wasn't really sure earlier in the week if I was going to do one, but as the week progressed and the models kind of came along, you could see how it pretty much kept everything, especially the rain and the storms and the snow, mostly out of our region. Until the last couple of runs here, everything kind of came together a little more so and began to agree with other models that we've got the potential for seeing some fair amount of snow across, especially parts of South Dakota and southern Minnesota. And so, as always, we're going to be watching this big trough that's going to be coming onshore here on the Pacific western coastline here. And as that moves on eastward, of course, that's going to be the driving force for our storm that's going to be arriving in our area come Tuesday on into Wednesday. But look at this strong jet stream as it just begins to blast northward and allow all kinds of moisture in along with that. We're going to have just a ton of moisture work into that area, along with some warmer air. Of course, on the southern side, more so of this jet stream, we're looking at the warmer air. But as you get behind it, it's going to run into some colder air. And then, of course, as that system continues to move kind of eastward, that cold air is going to slip south and eastward and bring snow across parts of Minnesota. Now, I should back up a little bit and say we potentially could have some snow in our area. I mean, after all, this storm system isn't even made it onto the coast yet, and we don't really typically get a great idea or a solid idea until these storms begin to reach the coastline. So we're kind of monitoring it at the moment to see exactly what's going to happen. But nevertheless, we do have this storm system moving on in, so we will have to talk about it just to kind of give a little heads up. And so we're looking at the storm system moving out of the Rockies here coming on Tuesday. And you can see the Gulf of Mexico is really wide open. We got a ton of moisture that's going to be streaming southward. You can see all these storms that are going to be fired up down across the south. A lot of storm chasers getting very excited over this one, the potential of seeing some tornadoes down there on Tuesday. But along with that, as that moisture kind of moves into our area, some of that moisture moving into our area, running up against this colder air further to the north. So now as we kind of move this along and go into Tuesday night, again, as I kind of mentioned before, that jet stream starts to slip a little bit to the south and east, allowing some of that colder temperature to slide south and east as well. And when this moisture, all this moisture that gets pulled into this storm system begins to wrap up and run against this colder air, well, that's where we're going to be concerned about that snow, particularly across eastern parts of South Dakota and southern portions of Minnesota. Now, the other thing to think about, of course, as you can plainly see here, these black lines, these isobars really pack tightly together. So we've got the potential of seeing some winds associated with this storm as well on the back side of this. So some strong, gusty, northerly winds that could also cause some blowing and drifting. But of course, we are a little ways out there, so the exact track of this is going to be still up in the air. When we take a look at some of the models and just a little bit of differences at this moment here, this is Tuesday night around midnight, Wednesday morning, midnight, and whatever you want to call it. But just a little bit of variations here between some of the models currently. And I mean, you can see here where some of the stronger snow is across parts of southeastern parts of Minnesota. You click a different one and that stronger band of snow moves a little bit to the south and east. And yet again, you look at another model and it looks completely different. So obviously, we still have a lot to be resolved yet, but when you do take a look, I mean, they all do show some areas of snow, particularly across southern parts of Minnesota, so just something to be aware of. So let's zoom in a little bit and take a little closer look. And we zoom in just to get a kind of an idea, at least, of the timing of what this could shake out to be. Again, very up in the air at the moment. Who exactly is going to be hit with snow? Will anybody get snow? Timing-wise, very much needs to be worked out, but I kind of show you this just to kind of give you an early heads-up idea. So we're looking at Tuesday morning, early Tuesday morning. This is 3 a.m., 6 a.m., and 9 a.m., And by this point already, you could see the rain moving into the area, some areas of snow across central parts of South Dakota, perhaps parts of North Dakota as well, and maybe even some freezing rain and some sleet in that dividing line. So where that rain, kind of that moisture meets that cold air, we could see a little band of some freezing rain as well. Just a matter of where and when. That still, like I said, has yet to be seen. But as we move along and as we get into Tuesday afternoon, that cold air begins to seep just a little bit further to the south. That moisture, more moisture begins to work into the area. In fact, you can see here, we might actually see a few thunderstorms across southern parts of Minnesota. Don't think anything severe, but hey, you might get a little bit of small hail just because those temperatures at the upper levels are still quite cold, so it won't take much of a storm to maybe get some freezing pellets or maybe just some tiny hail with that. So that is yet to be seen, but nevertheless, just something to kind of keep in mind for those of you across southern Minnesota. Very much potential that you're going to hear a few rumbles of thunder. Now, as we get into Tuesday night more so is when things become a little more dynamic. We still have that potential maybe of seeing a few thunderstorms across the southeast. Plenty of moisture now really getting on the backside of this storm system, but along with that, that cold air continues to sag just a little bit further to the southeast. So, of course, now we're looking at the potential of that snow really beginning to pick up across portions of Minnesota through the overnight hours Tuesday night and into early Wednesday morning. In fact, I mean, if you take a look at this model for what it's worth, I mean, you're really looking at maybe some heavy snow across southeast parts of Minnesota. We'll see if that actually pans out. We got a few days to work some of these bugs out. But as we move this along, the cold air continues to push to the south and east. And of course, that means bringing that snow a little bit to the south and east as well. And of course, as I mentioned before, that those black lines, those isobars getting a little more packed. So once we get into Wednesday morning, once we kind of get some of this snow on the ground here, we might have some gusty winds across southern parts of Minnesota as well, where you're looking at 30, maybe 40 mile per hour wind gusts. So really, it looks like the bulk of the problems are going to be coming through the overnight hours Tuesday night and affecting the region more so. I mean, especially if you're talking about the Twin Cities area. Right now, the biggest impact is going to be that rush hour going into Wednesday morning, because we could have a fair amount of snow on the ground. It could be blowing and drifting around the region. So that's going to be kind of the time frame to really watch out. And I think for the time being, these areas in blue probably have the biggest potential for seeing some accumulating snowfall here. So just kind of tapping Duluth a little bit down through the Twin Cities, Rochester, Mankato, down through Sioux Falls. You guys there, that's kind of the area we're really going to be focusing on, at least for now. This could change, this could shift, but in the early parts, as we look at it right now, those are the areas we're going to be concerned about for accumulating snowfall. How much exactly is kind of hard to say right now. We'll have to flush that out as we get closer to Tuesday. Now, the other concern is the potential for some icing, seeing that freezing rain, sleet. Kind of got a big area of pink in through here just because not real sure, not exactly sure where that dividing line between the rain and snow is going to take place. So kind of a big area right now. This will probably get thinned down a little bit more as we get closer to Tuesday, particularly Tuesday night. But for those of you across northern parts of Minnesota and across eastern portions of the Dakotas, just be mindful that we've got that potential going into Tuesday and Tuesday night for maybe seeing some freezing rain and some sleet. Now, beyond that, once that system moves through the area, we're going to kind of see, we're kind of in a little bit more of an active pattern. We've got another wave moving onshore later on in the week. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be impacting us. But we still have plenty of waves, a lot more of a wavier pattern across the country right now. And it looks like that's going to kind of continue throughout this week and on into next. So we'll keep an eye out. We'll see if anything develops beyond that. But for now, we'll keep an eye on this next system and let you know how it develops as it gets closer to Tuesday. So be sure you tune in here. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell button right beside it. That way you're notified when I've uploaded a video just like this, and we'll keep you informed across the Dakotas, Minnesota, should any bigger storms rile up through the spring. We're kind of getting into that early springtime now where we get these, maybe get these bigger storms, these winter type storms, and then you move through. And of course, hopefully we get some warmer temperatures on the backside, so maybe the snow won't stand around quite so long, but nevertheless, we kind of are into maybe a little bit more of an active pattern. So be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll keep you informed across the Dakotas, Minnesota. All right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody, have a good day.